Well, there appeared to have been some delays in the resumption of the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. For more on this, let's cross now to my colleague, senior reporter Chriselda Lewis, to tell us more. A very good afternoon, Chriselda. So what's the latest?
Well, Nompo, we seem to have adjourned about 30 minutes before the normal 3 o'clock that court would end for the day. We seem to be having some challenges with the court recorder, so the judge indicating that we might as well resume tomorrow because obviously whatever is said in court would not be able to be properly recorded. However, as Advocate Zandile Mshololo, who's representing accused number 5, had earlier in her cross-examination basically asking Thabo Mosia about when he had stored some of the exhibits that he had taken at the crime scene where Senzo Meyiwa was shot and killed. And he indicated that while some of the exhibits he took on the 27th, he only stored them on the 28th. Remember, we've previously heard in this court that he had stored some of the exhibits that he had taken in his safe in the workplace, and only the following day had he then checked them in to the registrar where they're supposed to be kept. Also coming into question is why there had not been any, blood samples that had been taken from the vehicle that was used to transport Senzo Meyiwa. What we do know is that he was taken to the hospital. There is no dispute regarding that, but basically the defense questioning why there had not been any samples taken from this vehicle to establish, whether Senzo Meyiwa was bleeding or what the situation was with regard to that. Also the issue of alcohol samples as well. Alcohol samples, that what we've heard in this court previously was that some of the witness statements that had been taken indicated that the witness had indicated that some alcohol cans had been taken from the floor, and apparently this was done by a certain Maggie Peary, who we understand to be one of the neighbors of the Kumalos in Loris, the home belonging to the mother of Kelly Kumalo. And essentially what that witness statement indicates is that one of the other neighbors had asked Maggie Peary why she was picking up the bottles or the alcohol cans from the floor, and she indicated that she was doing so because she didn't want police to see that the occupants in the house at the time, which included Kelly Kumalo, Longwe Twala and others, were basically drinking. So that's what we heard. So Advocate Zandile Mshololo also trying to push towards the fact that there had been water on the floor, and one of the witness statements that were taken, the witness indicating they were quite perturbed that there'd been water on the floor, despite the fact that there was an actual active crime scene. So why would you have someone trying to clean up the scene after that? So conceding there, Mosia, who is still under cross-examination by Mshololo, indicating that you certainly cannot rule out the possibility that something could have happened before he arrived on the scene to take the samples that he had taken. Also, the defense is basically trying to show in this instance that police had also not done much when they had reported to that scene to try and gather some of the evidence. Also, the qualifications of Mosia also questioned in court this morning. And what has since emerged is that while he might have been a police officer, he had actually gotten the qualifications for the kind of work that he is doing. He had reported to that scene or had dealt with the Senzo Meyiwa crime scene a year after he had actually qualified to do that. So bringing into question whether he was actually qualified to report to that scene. So the defense basically trying to point towards the fact that he was ill-qualified to do so. He had, I wouldn't say he didn't have any jurisdiction to be there, but in terms of what he had done on the scene, there's been criticism over the fact that he didn't gather enough yet. Basically handed the scene over at some point, you heard in this court, to Brigadier Pilani Ndlovu, who he says was his senior, and reported to the crime scene first. So we're hearing a lot about, the exhibits, for example, about what Mosia is basically saying is that the scuffle is believed to have taken place inside the kitchen, but there doesn't seem to be any of the exhibits that show that there might have been any blood in that particular place, and that the defense is basically saying perhaps that could lead them to believing that the crime scene itself had been tampered with and there'd been some cleaning up that had happened way before Mosia had arrived on the scene.
Chriselda, thank you very much for that update. My colleague there, senior reporter Chriselda Lewis on the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial.